Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to season 2 of Conversations in Pop Culture. And before I introduce my guest, I am going to remind people that a bunch of links are up above, including the current Kickstarter that my guest is a part of, as well as my two links that are super important that help support this show. You can buy me a coffee and my Cash App link. And so obviously I'm going to encourage everybody here beyond liking and sharing this interview around. If you can, please support all three of those links in some way or another. And now, without further ado, I'm introducing my guest, Ozzy Longoria, I would like to say. I'm pretty sure I got the name wrong. I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure you're going to correct me, who is the co-owner of Gemini Comics. So welcome to the show, and please correct me if I got your name wrong.
A little bit, yes. Ozzy Longoria. Longoria. He's Italian.
I'm going to just take the loss, and I'm going to move on politely. So having
It's
said
okay.
that,
Don't worry about it. We started good. It's good. Good enough.
I'm happy with the L. I'm happy with the L here. So obviously you got a lot of stuff going on with Doomsday-TV coming out, one through three, obviously being on Kickstarter. But I am curious before we get into that, and I do want to talk about Gemini Comics and how that all came about, because it is super interesting, that entire comic company and obviously forming your partnership and what you guys do over there, because there's a lot of stuff that's coming out of that.
That's correct. We have we have a bunch of partnerships with different companies, like Creamy Rat. I hear some echo. It's distracting me. Let me lower the volume. Sorry. So we have Gemini Comics. It's owned by Arlo Billings, my wife, Sharon Billings, me, and we're producing a bunch of books right now. I mean, I'm the artist. I'm mostly the writer, and I've been writing them for like 10 years, probably more. And I decided this is the year that I'm gonna release most of them. So I actually finished 7 books of Doomsday-TV. My wife called me the comic book hoarder because I finished a book and I put it in the shelf. Finish another book, put it in a shelf. I don't do anything with it. So I have at least 15 books that I'm gonna release this year. It's because my wife forced me to do it.
And so to talk about this, because obviously there's a bunch of stuff that is coming out and that you obviously are in a bunch of partnerships. I think you've picked up some stuff that you're now able to do as well. And so obviously, how did it even form of Gemini Comics, and how did that company come together? Because obviously, there's 3 partners, and
Right.
what prompted that? Because, you're not just a small indie publisher. You're a publisher, you've been around for a while, and obviously you're doing a lot of different stories. And so what prompted all of this? Because comics are very interesting, and I'm going to say this very nicely, but indie comics are red hot right now. Like, the era of indie comics has arrived, but you were before the era of indie comics.
And that's the reason why I am publishing them. But the thing is that as an artist, I'm always busy. Companies hire me since day one. Since I moved here 20 years ago, I've been doing professional comics for 21 years. So since day one, started working one after another, and I didn't have much time to do my own projects.
That's a good problem. That's a good problem.
It is a good problem, actually. And that's exactly why I didn't do anything with it, because I just don't have the time. So I'm basically doing them in my spare time, which is not much. And so what prompt and the reason why I'm gonna publish them is because my wife told me, like, okay, it's enough.
Oh,
No
so
more.
you're being forced.
I'm being forced.
The saying is happy wife, happy life, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and I do whatever my wife tells me. So, and my other partner is also helping me because I don't have much time. Right, currently I'm doing number 6 of a samurai book. It's called Eta, Samurai Story. I'm doing I'm still doing Doomsday-TV, and I'm doing another book. It's called Angleros. It's a fishing book, and I'm a fishing aficionado. So I'm creating those, and I don't have much time. And there's always actually the next book is gonna be um, the Sword and the Sorcerer, which is the sequel of the cult classic from the 90s of the same name. Um, and that one is also in partnership with Creamy Rat Studios, which is the one who's paying for everything basically. And I'm gonna do the Kickstarter. Yeah, on it's Indiegogo. Sorry.
And so obviously there's a lot to talk about. And so obviously you're super swamped and you're doing some mainstream stuff and some stuff that has some serious money behind it. And then you're also doing the indie stuff. And then obviously, probably COVID has affected, some of that stuff. And then probably a good time to jump into the indie pool in a lot of
Oh,
ways.
and I can tell you the story of I got COVID just a year ago, and so I almost died.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's another thing that pushed me to publish my books. It's like, why do you want so many books that you're never gonna publish? So what happened is that I moved to my wife has a house here in Buena Vista. It's in the mountains. It's a 3,000 people population, so which is very tiny. And so I've been uh, basically just working from here. Actually, stopped working for a while because it left me in a really bad condition. But then I slowly just keep just drawing, finishing more books, and I decided to do the Kickstarter, which actually I did it last year in Indiegogo. But it was at the beginning of the whole thing, and so it was a really bad timing, really bad because
Yeah.
everybody was scared. They didn't know what to do with their money, so I didn't do much. I didn't do much money, and so I'm re-releasing it. The books are already on print. Uh, I'm just waiting for the results and
We're
promoting
going
it.
to talk all about that. We're going to talk all about that. But I do want to talk about a Kickstarter that you did before this. And obviously, I want to talk about Monsters and God
Oh,
anthology.
Monsters of God, yeah, yeah.
And so, obviously, this is something for everybody is in here. We got some monsters, we got some gods, we got maybe possibly some superheroes in there, and a lot of cool people were involved. And I know I'm missing a few people, so I'm going to apologize to the people that I'm missing. We had Mike Barron, and I think Mike Barron did some Flash stuff for DC, he's done some stuff for Marvel. Tom
Yeah.
Levine, who's done some stuff on Spawn. Oslo Cruz, Chris Lyons, Edgar Travista, Jason Sardanis. I probably got that name wrong to name a few. And obviously, you worked on the book and big anthology book with a lot of creators. And
Yeah.
anthologies are super, super cool in a lot of ways because you give a lot of, opportunity for people to do different stories. And I think, what was it, like 80, 88 pages or 90 pages, something like that?
80 pages, yeah.
And a bunch of different stories. So, what prompted that anthology? Because there's something for everybody in this anthology, and there's a lot of great talent in it, and it also is a spotlight, and it was very affordable, you
It
know,
was.
anthology. It's pretty much the price of a graphic novel.
Yep. And what happened is that I know Mike Barron. He's from a town close to Denver. I used to live in Denver, so every time I used to go to a convention, I used to bother him. He's just like, "Hey, let me do one of your books." It's like, and every single time for years and years. So he's like, "Okay, Jesus, take this, take this script." No, he actually gave me the whole story. Neil Hansen, he's a he was a Marvel artist. Is the one who did the story, and he's retired now. Um, so I got lucky with this story. Um, Also, Tom Levine, out of the blue, he contacted me, and he's like, "Well, you're doing Spawn, so yeah, you're in. It doesn't matter what it is, you're in. Your name sells."
And so, what is that like? Because this is a very interesting thing because you're getting to work with really cool people. It's your anthology, you're spearheading it. Obviously, your company's spearheading it, and that you're a part of. And then big names are coming in, and then some names that are smaller are also coming in there.
Yeah,
And
up
what
and
is that
coming.
like?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a big kid, and I get to interview cool people like Chuck Dixon. I got to do Denny O'Neil. I got to do Howard Cruz, and then like Denny O'Neil, Batman. You know, you're 101.
oh
You know,
yeah.
Nightfall, Chuck Dixon, Batman, Nightfall, brilliant. And I'm a big kid. I'm 28, and this stuff is way before my time. But I know and I love it because I've read it, and it's fantastic. And so, what is that like for you? Because obviously, you're a veteran comic artist and you're getting to work with people who really have done a lot in
Oh,
comics.
it's my dream team. Like, believe me, uh, I never. Everything came to as like a surprise, like because I bothering him so much, and he was like, "Okay, just here is your, give me some money." It's like here, ching ching ching, and so yeah, I always wanted to work with him, with everybody because most of the people I picked, and I had so many short stories. Actually, most of the stories are mine, and I said, "Well, let's finish them. Let's just, like I said, I finished stories and I put them away. So I had enough. I actually have enough for 3 issues. Number two is coming pretty soon too.
And
Um,
then even going further off of this, because obviously you're giving a bunch of people an opportunity in a book, and obviously, as you said, it's stated, somebody's name sells and helps to sell the anthology. And then there's other people on this, and I no disrespect to them, but their name isn't there to sell yet. But you're also giving them an opportunity to some degree, and it's
for sure.
nice when anthologies, because sometimes in these anthologies, then it's all names that are recognized. And I'm like, that kind of defeats the point of an anthology. If I'm to write, I would love to have a 4-pager in there. And I'm not a comic writer, and obviously I could use some help. But if I want to become a comic writer, I'm going to need a starting point somewhere. And then if all of
Right.
a sudden I'm in a book of yours and I did 8 pages, and maybe it's not my best 8 pages that ever happens, but Tom Levine is in there, all of a sudden people are going to say, okay, I don't know who Andrew Davis is, but I know who this guy is. Let me see what Andrew's doing here. And all of a sudden, I got to do
Yeah.
another anthology and another anthology, and you got to pass the torch in a lot
See,
of ways.
see, in comic books, the most important thing is networking because nowadays, when I started it, it was 21 years ago. I moved here. I moved from Mexico City. I moved here, and I, I didn't have anything to show. I didn't have any books. I didn't have no portfolio, no nothing. So I went to this company and I said, "Well, can you give me some work?" It's like, "No, you have nothing to show." So I said, "Well, I'll do it for free," and that's an offer they can't refuse. Just uh, so they give me an opportunity and they say, well, "Okay, yes, here it is." It was a short story. It was an 8-pager, and so after that, I had something physical, and I bought so many so I can send it to everybody. I can send it to, I don't know, 50 companies. And from those 50, I got like 2, 3 gigs, small ones because I don't have any. It's just one. But I guess I did a good job. And then after that, I start charging like small money, but you see, you grow, you go step by step. It's not like
It goes up as you get better.
right. And I can't tell that I was better like as an artist. It's just a progression. and money too. Like, and nowadays, the projects come to me. I don't have to chase them. I don't have to. The people come to me. Like Tom Levine. I was surprised, to be honest, but now it's just it's backwards. You know, I don't have to
And
chase the same.
so, why do you think that? Because you're not the first person where people are now coming to indie. There's a lot of situations and a lot of people. Because I do a lot of indie creators. I do mainstream. I've gone both ways. I've done the head of companies.
Yeah,
I've done Ralph Tedesco from Zenoscope. It's a big, thing, and I have a relationship with that company in a lot of
for
ways.
sure. Yeah,
And I have a relationship with DC Comics with Paul Levitz, which is a very cool relationship.
for
And
sure.
yeah, very cool relationship. It's a great story. I got to interview him in his house. To talk about comic people who love this industry. As an interviewer, I'm in a very, very cool club, and I have enough connections that, with a variety of people, and I keep it for a reason
Yeah.
because I don't want anybody to tell us. This is getting into my circle is exclusive. But anyway, what is that like though? Because it's gotta be super weird.
It is super weird, but the more you build, it's like you're building a name, right? It's just really, I'm not even close to be famous. Like, I'm nobody, but I've been 20 years on the industry in independent books, so everybody have heard my name or came across my name, and they remember it because it's so catchy too. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got a cool name." So, and when I met Mike Baron, he told me like, "Hey, I know an Ozzy. He's stalked me on Facebook."
He's bothered me a lot.
Yeah. Well, is that you? It's like, yeah, that's me, and I'm gonna bother you live now.
And so even to go further off of this, I mean, obviously the indie realm has shifted dramatically. Indie comics, I feel 2017 was the start of this golden age that we're in, or the platinum age. I wouldn't call it the golden age. It's golden is too cliche. But it's really shifted, and then in 2019 and 2020 and 2000 now, we are in that platinum age, and
Yeah.
where a lot of big names are coming away from DC, Marvel, Image into the indie realm, and
Yeah.
now people like you and people who are running indie publishers are sort of a big deal. Why do you think that shift is happening? And obviously, you're part of that shift because people
Well,
have reached out to you now, and you got big names working on projects of yours.
that's right. I think it's because people have gotten tired of the mainstream. Mainstream book has no much quality and the writing. The art is okay, but I think what moves people is the writings. It's a good story, telling a good story, and I think
Did you feel that with indie books, it's not so much where money now isn't the issue, and they don't have to worry about sales, so you can actually worry
right,
about producing something that is actually meaningful, and you can produce a story that you could say, look, if I sell 500 copies of this, I'm not beholden to having a print run with Luna or Lunar or having a print run with Penguin Random House, and then I have to worry about my supply chain on the business side of it, and then I have to
yeah.
worry about all the comic shops, and I have to worry about all the variants and print counts and a whole variety of other topics that might be confusing people when they listen to this. But I think that's the point I'm trying to get across.
I,
Where with a Kickstarter, if I have 10 people want a variant, that's all I'm going to print.
right. I can only compare it. I can make the analogy of the NFL versus the college football.
Also, no XFL, no XFL.
It's gone, I guess. That was gone years and years ago. But well, that was a good one. By the way, yeah, the college, obviously they leave blood and tears in the ground on the field, and the NFL, they're worried about their appearances, or they don't put all their strengths. and that's what's happening. Like, people are watching, are looking for indie books because of the same. They're putting more effort to tell a better story, as opposed to the corporate, the DC, the Marvel, the
And also, I feel, and like I left Kickstarter for a while because I got really burned on a Kickstarter, left a bad taste, and then I came back. It took me about 2 years to come back. So I got burned in 2017. I came back in 2019 into Kickstarter and backing projects. And also, what I've noticed is that I backed a few projects, took some risks on a few projects, was happy to take those risks. And then obviously I've now found out in the last 18 months or so. So I backed a bunch of projects all throughout 2020, and I'm now way over my limit in 2021, and I'm gonna be even further over my limit in the next probably 3 weeks, which is a problem. I'm gonna be poor thanks to Kickstarter. But I'm kidding. I'm already poor. No, I'm broke. Not
it's
poor.
too late.
I'm broke. I'm screwed. I'm not poor. Poor is a lifestyle. Being broke means you just don't have money. So there's a difference. Um, I have to be factually accurate, but I also noticed that in the last 18 months, I feel the quality of stories has gone above and beyond tremendously, and we have bigger stories out there. I mean, I never thought that AEW Butts and Seats would be
Yeah.
there. I never thought that a book like Berserk would be able to be done. A book like
Boom, yeah,
Cursor.
Boom is putting good stuff. There's so many good wannabe mainstream guys, but they're still independent at heart.
I don't know if you know who Chuck Pino is.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, for sure.
And with Bilal is a bunch of dick fart jokes and a bunch of potty humor jokes
Yeah,
in black and white, and it's brilliant. And it's not intellectual. No offense to Chuck. Chuck will say it's not intellectual too, but it's intellectual because it's great because you have the ruler of hell sitting in a bar getting all rallied up wanting to take back hell.
yeah.
Making
No, no,
dicks and fart jokes, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's great. It's the best thing ever that you'll ever read because you could read it, and I'd feel comfortable giving it. If I had a 13-year-old, I'd feel comfortable giving it to my 8-year-old, to be honest. And so, like, the quality is so much better. And what is that like? Because now you're on Kickstarter, and this anthology's out there, and then a bunch of other stuff. So obviously, I feel like that's also a big thing too.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. The quality is just, all the indies have put a lot of effort. That's for sure. Yeah,
And so I think that that's also the biggest factor is that the quality is better. And obviously this anthology, just the team on it, I mean, speaks huge amounts. I mean, I think I missed like 80% of the team too, which makes this even worse. But like even like a Tom Levin and a Mike Barron, I mean, that's some serious star power that people recognize,
oh
even
yeah.
from my generation.
Um, Mike Byron is a double Eisner Award winner. Imagine that. It's like having two Oscar. I mean, it's like having two guys like Oscar winners in your movie.
It's like having A-Rod on your team.
Right, exactly. But and also he's also on Doomsday TV. He's collaborating again with me. He's writing short stories. But we can save that for when we were talking to Doomsday TV. Or
And
or
so I do want to get to Doomsday TV, but
okay.
obviously I do want to ask one more question about even just building on an anthology. Might be a few questions actually.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about this is that it was pretty cheap. It was pretty cheap, considering it was basically the price of a graphic novel, which is really nice for 80 pages. A graphic novel is anywhere from 120 to like 140 pages. This was 80, which is pretty reasonable. It wasn't that expensive, and you're getting a bunch of different stories from a bunch of different art styles. And what was that even like producing an anthology? Because
Well,
anthologies are interesting to produce, and it's a lot of planning and making sure, your art teams work and then figuring out what stories go where. And I don't know if this anthology is just a bunch of stories independently or if they're all connected with a common thread and even managing that.
No, they're just basically, that's why I call them monsters and gods, because it's two themes that they're like broad, like super broad. You can do whatever you want.
And
And
so that's nice though, because in a lot of ways it gives more ability to do a bunch of stories and say,
that's right.
hey, if you just want some monsters and gods in there, and obviously that's sort of the common theme where you need something like, a big kaiju is attacking a city has to be in this book. You can't just put, a car race in this
Right.
book. But you
Do
could
you
put
remember? Do you remember?
monsters in cars racing.
Yeah. But do you remember flip books?
I
Do
know
you
flip
ever?
books.
Okay.
I wasn't
This is a
privileged.
flip book anthology.
Oh, those are fun. See,
So
I wasn't privileged growing up to have flip books. I'm 28, so that's not before my time, but I am
yeah,
well aware of what a flip book is. A flip book, for those who don't know, is that half the book is on one side standing up, and then there's another cover on the other side. The cover B is what it's called, and then you flip it
that's
over
right.
and you read the other side of it.
So yeah, I always wanted to do something like that, and especially because I'm old, and I know I had some flip books when I was a kid, and I said, well, I'm one day I'm gonna do that, and this is my chance. And yeah, so half of the book is on, and then you flip it,
So,
and
so
then you
what
get
what
to the
is
story.
that like to
Huh?
get to do two covers? What is that like to get to do two covers? Because
Well,
it's
no,
fun.
see, I always do that for my books. I don't know if you grab any of my books, I always do two covers. I like to do the main cover. My friends call me overachiever. Believe me, I'm always doing extra. And this is an example. Every single book that you buy, it is signed and it's got a sketch because I
Oh,
leave
that's so
a
cool.
sketch page.
That's
So
awesome.
every single book, and even the ones that I sold on stores, because I sold so many on stores. I stay at night drawing.
So to even talk about that, because I've been saying this a lot. You either have to be the most expensive, the cheapest, or the most valuable, and especially on Kickstarter. I think it is key
Oh,
here.
I
Where
can tell you. I can tell you why it was cheaper on Kickstarter, because I was planning to do it on a newspaper, and
so
so it didn't sell that much. But I knew I was gonna put it on stores. So what I did is just I did it in good paper, and I
so
did
so,
a
so
big
what I
run.
yeah. So
So I did a
what
big
I
run,
was
and I sold it, and I give to all the guys, like I give them a good paper anthology.
So what I was saying and what I love about that sketch is that, I was at a store signing and I was buying an exclusive book and Ryan Brown was sketching in the book if you bought the $10 book or the hardcover book, and he was like, what do you want to be drawn in there? And he was drawing Batman and Iron Man and all sorts of people in the Curse Words book. And I said to him, hey, do whatever you want. So he draws this big elaborate spread.
Ooh,
I'm like,
man, that's
and
but
then
isn't it nice just to get something extra, like something
and so
personal?
so the funny part is it was a signing with Ryan Brown and Charles Soule. And so now Ryan draws this big thing on 2 pages, and everybody else was just drawing one thing. I said, draw whatever you want. If you're going to draw my book, I'm going to let you draw whatever you want in your book. If you want to draw me getting eaten by an alligator, I'm totally cool with that if you're doing it for free. It doesn't bother me. Now, I don't want
Right.
you to draw something offensive in my book, which I think is more than reasonable. But if you want to draw Batman getting punched in the face, I'm cool with that. That doesn't bother me. So what winds up happening is that Ryan draws this big thing, and then Charles was drawing stick figures because he's the writer on curse words. So he had to like draw it at an angle. It's the funniest photo on my Instagram. Because
That's pretty funny, yeah.
I said, I'm really sorry. And he just sort of just like laughs. But what I find awesome about your sketching in every single book is this idea that you're adding a lot of value because it's a free sketch and it says, okay, now I understand that, especially on Kickstarter, in stores, because somebody's saying, hey, I'm taking a risk on your book. And it actually means something. And saying, hey, somebody's actually, taking a Sharpie, doing a really quick sketch in it. And they're doing it not for money because I bought the book, and you're giving back. And you're actually getting an experience, and it means something, and it adds value to it.
But listen, what I'm trying to do, what a lot of people should do actually, it's keep customers happy, and getting them come back, not for that one, because that one is for free. I didn't make much money. Actually, I make money on the stores, and I'm still waiting for conventions. But what I'm trying to say is that number 2 is gonna sell that one too, and that's when I'm trying to make some money back, because on the first one, even on the second one, I'm gonna give them something extra. Like I'm gonna do sketches the same. I'm gonna do something extra because I want them to be happy and I want them to come back. I want them to say, "Oh, Gemini Comic is giving a lot of things away."
But also, when you give a sketch, that's not costing you anything like if you were to produce a metal card, because all it is that's your labor. And I'm not saying your labor isn't worth anything, but you doing a sketch, it would take me hours to do what you did, and you just showed me. I am not artistically talented, but it's not costing you anything as far as producing something beyond a few markers that are going to cost you money, that the ink is going to take. And also, somebody's like, no way, man, I'm interested in this book, and you just start sketching in it. Somebody's like, oh man, this is awesome, and it creates a great experience, and it adds a lot of value. And now, if you charge me $25 for something, I'm already stoked to get the book, and then you add a sketch onto it, I'm like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, I always had a problem where everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of companies, they try to sell you one single book, one single issue for $20. Why?
So I'm on the opposite side of this.
You are
like buying variants that have a limited print run, and so I will buy a $20 book that has a 250 print run. But the reason why I'm buying that book is because it's super limited. Versus, I just bought a Kickstarter. I backed the Kickstarter 3 months ago, and the single issue that wasn't limited, that was a cover rate, was $15. That's a lot of money for a single book. Plus, it was like $10 shipping. And then on top of that, the book was okay. And I don't mean to, bash whose book it was, but it was okay. Didn't connect with me, and I was very disappointed. And there was no like bonuses that were impressive or anything like that. And I was very disappointed. Then I backed another book by Jamie Tyndall. I backed the book, I added an add-on. So my entire total was $40. Came with an 11x17 print, came with a pin, came with like 3 magnets, came with 2 bookmarks, came with like some other goodies, plus a regular cover A for $40. And both of those books are cool. And he signed both of them. And Murphy, who I think was also the writer on it, signed some of it. So I found massive value in that. And if I got a book and I backed your thing for $15 and you sketched in my book and I didn't know you were sketching in my book, I would find massive value and I'd be a very happy customer. So I'd open up and be like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is awesome. I'll give a great example. So I backed the book called Cthulhu Invades Oz. We were supposed to meet a stretch goal, and we didn't meet the stretch goal. We were going to get a glow-in-the-dark cover. Travis paid the extra $200 we missed the stretch goal by to get those glow-in-the-dark covers. I didn't know it was coming, and I was so shocked. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And like I should have remembered, like, did you send me the wrong book? No, Andrew, I didn't send you the wrong book. Everybody got this on the Kickstarter. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you added a lot of value to this. And so that's
true. It's giving extra, but also no
just
book.
Say yes, you're doing the right thing.
No book is going to cost you $20 to make. That's a lot of profit, like a lot.
I'm okay with paying money for variants and art and things like that, especially if a company's hiring an artist. I got no problem with that. I need to find value in it though,
I
because
guess a lot of people find the value too.
if
But
you're selling me a regular cover A for $20 on an indie, it's a hard sell. But if it's a variant by an artist that I like, I got no problem paying money for it. So that's how I feel. But I get the argument, and I completely agree with that. Because and so I get where you're going with it.
all right, you're right when it comes to something very special. But what there's some comic books that are regular books, nothing special, that they're not worth $30.
Oh, I'll give a great example. I forget the comic book. It's on Indiegogo, and you might know it. It's an 80-page graphic novel they're asking $50 for. That's insane. It's
Imagine that.
insane.
Anyway, I'm selling 3 books for what, like $20. Imagine that. That's how I'm on the other side, and I have Mike Baron. I have so many
I love it,
amazing artists and so
and I
many
love it.
writers. And not only that, you will gonna get sketches. You're gonna get so many good stuff if you back,
And,
obviously.
and so I love it. And so obviously, I do want to talk about Doomsday TV. Obviously, you tried it, I think, on Indiegogo. It didn't do great because of the pandemic, and you brought it
No,
over to Kickstarter.
I couldn't even promote it because I was just dying.
Well, you're not dead, so we're thankful for that.
Thanks.
You opened yourself up to that one. I'm sorry. You opened yourself
That's
up to
right.
that.
No, that's good. I'm thankful.
So obviously now you're on Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a bigger platform in many ways than Indiegogo. The
Oh, for
rules
sure.
are a little bit different, where it's all or nothing. Um, but what is the basic premise of Doomsday TV?
Okay, Doomsday TV. It poses some questions. If you have there's an asteroid, it's gonna kill you in 7 years. So what would you do with your life? You know you're gonna die. Everything becomes chaotic. Everything is just gone down to the drain. So what would you do with your life?
So obviously we're going to dive into this because this is what I want to talk about. I love the concept of this. So obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of different things, happening, and people are having, different positions. Some people are going one way, some people are going the other. And really interesting question. It's kind of like the question that if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do? And so obviously, we have a much longer time period on this one. And so obviously, where did this idea come from? Because it's interesting, especially the 7-year component, because the idea of, hey, if you were to die tomorrow, what would you do? There's a manga called Ikigami, and where somebody has 24 hours to live,
Right.
and whatever they do.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great manga. It's a
Yeah.
great manga. It's a brilliant manga because you really see humanity and how they function in very interesting ways. And you see how some people work and other people don't. And so obviously, where did the idea for the 7 years come from? Because this is super interesting.
Um. First off, it was supposed to be as 5 years, but then a TV show is called Sun Black Sun. Basically, had the same idea as my comic book. So I had to change it from 5 to 7. But it was the same concept. It's the same exact thing. Um, the idea came in my dream. It's like during the elections with Trump, and it's like, well, everything's becoming more chaotic for some people. So it's like, and I started just thinking, it's like, well, how about if we have a timer? What would you do with your life? You do something good or you do something bad? And basically, the main character, it's a guy who's never done nothing with his life. He's just a total loser. But then he's got an idea. Okay, he wants redemption. He looks for redemption in a dying world. So what he does is just start recording everything, and which is what we do nowadays. Just going through the apocalypse with a camera and just watching every single bizarre event or nice event or whatever is happening. And this concept is a little different because it's an anthology and it's a regular book. It follows the story of the main character, but every time he stops, he records something. It's drawn by a different artist.
So where did that concept come from? Because that's a super interesting concept. Because that I don't think has been done before in a
I
lot of
think
ways.
I've seen it once, but it's in a different. Um, I can't
It's
remember where.
it's a very meta idea, is what it
Right.
is. Every once in a while, I don't know if you know who Tom Hutchinson is from Big Dog Inc.
Yeah. 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 I do.
He created a concept of a cover called a 360 cover, where it's the same cover done in 100-degree angles, and there's three
Right.
parts.
Oh,
Super cool
that's
concept,
pretty
right?
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen it done. It hasn't been done before. It's going to be copied at some point. I know it. He knows it. It's just a matter of when he gets
Yeah.
credit for it because I think he's the first one who did it. This concept that you're introducing with Doomsday TV, that's very much a similar position where it's kind of like the anthology is almost the journalistic news bits.
That's right, and it works perfectly because it's not nowadays we have drones, so every it's not boring just one point of view. It has all the points of view of drones, of different cameras because there is three cameramen, so it's interesting visually.
And it's
Also,
also nice because,
it's very interesting because there is concepts that you don't know or that you never thought about because you're not in that position of dying. And I told all my writers, which are there like 30 or 40, they like just think outside of the box. What would you do if you're gonna die? Like, what would you do? Does music? Would you do music? Would you find love? Like, what would you do? It's very interesting. Yeah.
and obviously there's a lot of questions being asked. Some people are committing crimes. Some people are trying to be with their loved ones. Some people are trying to find love. Some people are trying to do harm. Some people are trying to challenge government. Some people are just trying to say, hey, how am I going to survive for the next 7 years? And then on top of all that, what I really like is that you have a bunch of different artists working on this. And so, different people cover different news stories and different highlight reels differently. And that's the other thing that's super cool about it. And this is why I love the meta idea of this. It is such a cool meta idea because, cameraman A might capture the violent act and cameraman
Right.
B might capture the good act. And then cameraman C might just be documenting the daily of just a couple eating out at a restaurant, in the middle of this. And then cameraman C might be filming a violent event in another thing, and it's done in the same style that cameraman C does it in, but then it's something else, and then you go forward, and then also you're dealing with the main character, and it's just it's brilliant because you now really have a lot of different styles being thrown out there, and you also have you get the narrative of these artists because I think you're sort of writing it and you're really managing this in a lot of ways. One of the things is that the artist is almost the cameraman documenting it.
That's exactly what it is.
It's so weird. Like I don't know how to describe this, and I'm not doing a very good job at
No,
it.
no, it's perfectly described by your words. It's just like that. And I can tell you also that I am the main artist. I do the main story of the character,
So
which
you're
is
selfish.
it has
Taking the best.
flashbacks. It's got the thing about the concept is that there is no timeline. There's just stories in the past, stories in the present, stories in the future, and the only way you recognize it is that I put a timer in each beginning of the page, but the timer is the people who are still alive.
That's so
That's how you know in which time they are. So it goes from 8 or 7 billion or 7.5 billion people to, I don't know, like 1 billion, which is before the asteroid is going to hit. So
Oh
It's just a
man.
weird concept. And I put a lot of stuff, and I put a story even in the bottom of the of in the gutters, like a tiny drawings doing something.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I love Mike Aldred. Mike Ald, you know him? He's the guy who did Mad Madman. No, Mad. What? It's a comic book, really popular. God damn it! Sorry, I'm cursing.
I'm
Uh,
trying to think of it. Mike
Mike
Alfred.
Aldred, yeah, Mike Aldred. He's doing a Silver Surfer right now. He used to do this comic book, independent comic book, with a character who's really crazy. He's like the Deadpool,
Yeah.
and he used to put a lot of tiny drawings in the bottom, like his character doing something.
There's a book that did that took place in the UK, and I don't know if it's his book, but they did a lot of almost like etchings essentially, and characters doing stuff in like the bottom of the page beyond the graphic novel,
Yeah,
and it had nothing to do necessarily with the graphic novel, but it sort of played into it a little bit,
no,
and super interesting concept of just sort of like you're adding a nice like thing going on and little Easter eggs.
it's got a lot of stuff, and just by mapping these stories that happens, and it's very difficult just to keep, because you're keeping numbers too, like how many people die already, and then the next story happens like 1 year later, and it's really hard to track. It's keeping me
To
very
even go
interested.
further off of this, because obviously, there's a lot of stuff, and it's a set of books in many ways. But
Yeah,
to even go further into this, one of the things that I think, you know, I know that there has to be at some point an end when the asteroid hits, but you can go beyond seven probably, and you could sort of backtrack and put like a 1.5 in there if you wanted to. And it might be a pain in the ass to do it a little bit, but there's plenty of room to maneuver because you could tell a story. I don't know where they are technically in the world, but you could do it if they're in New York. You could do a story of the same thing going on with somebody else sort of in California, or having another guy doing something or something like that, or even just more
yeah.
stories documented, because there's plenty of things where if he's sort of recording everything that's going on for possibly who knows what, or you could even have an after the asteroid hits, because who knows, maybe 1
I have
billion people
I have a
somehow
story, but
survive.
I cannot tell you because it spoils everything.
Maybe he's the asteroid for all we know. Who
I
knows?
can't I can't speak about that.
I interviewed somebody who has a book that would be a perfect sequel for this.
Hmm.
I don't know. He was on yesterday, and I don't know if you saw it, but it's the Forsaken Future.
No, no.
After the asteroid hits, that's what it is. It's the Forsaken Future.
Oh, well,
Your
maybe we
book
should
will
do
be.
something together.
I
And
should connect the two of you. It'll be perfect, and it'll be. He does Whitefire comics, and
that's
it
pretty good.
that
Yeah,
leads right into it. And then I'm telling you, with issue 7 and this, do a connecting cover between the two of you. Oh man, it'd be brilliant. I'm
yeah,
going to make that introduction, but that's a different discussion.
yeah, yeah. And Tom Levine again. He did two stories, two books actually. He um he did the ending. I know the ending, and I know how I want it. So I told him, like, this is the end. So finish it. He did a great job, and I'm gonna draw it. I'm working on it, but I want to have the ending ready. If he
So
start,
what is that like? Because this is super important. Obviously, I'm a big manga guy, and One Piece is one of the biggest mangas ever. And I'm pretty sure we all know how One Piece is going to end. There's only three ways it could end, and I'm pretty sure the guy who's doing One Piece has the ending planned. I'm pretty sure he had a plan from
yeah,
day one. The basic concept of it, not obviously the drawing, because Luffy and all those characters have changed dramatically. I think it would be very hard 20 years in the future to predict how a character,
right,
gets a scar per se. But you could say, well, they're going to do A, B, C, and D at the end, and then they're going to go do X. And I know exactly how it's going to end. There's only one way it can end that makes 100% sense. that protects the entire brand. There's only one way it could end that does that. And there's actually two ways it can do that. But the idea is that what is it like to know saying, hey, this has to end at some point and has to end this way? Because if you go into a series knowing how it's going to end, it's the same thing where when I'm building an interview, I have a formula, I have a template. I understand there's a beginning, middle, and end, and that it makes it much easier when I'm writing when I have a formula and say, how the hell do I fill it up? And so what is that like?
The thing is that I am very established in my ideas. In my head, they're immovable. So a lot of people think I'm stubborn, and I am.
Well, let me ask you a question. When
I'm
were
not
you
gonna change it. No, it doesn't matter if they offer me $1 million.
When were you born? I'm asking a question for a reason. When were you born?
My birthday was 2 days ago.
Oh, so you're not a Capricorn then. So
No, I'm Gemini.
I'm a Capricorn, so I am a goat and I am a stubborn person too.
Yeah.
Continue about the ending.
So basically, I'm just. It doesn't matter which company, because I'm still pitching it to companies. If it gets picked up, fine. But this is in my terms. No one is gonna mess with the story because it's already drawn. Basically, it's like it's already written.
So how far are you? Because obviously a lot of this is written, and I'm sure a little tweak needs to happen every once in a while for the most part, just because that's how comics are. Meaning that
listen. I tell my writers, do whatever you want. Just think about the craziest thing and just do it. But I'm gonna make sense of the story, because if you go out, let's say my character has to speak in a certain way, he has to have these ideas, and because he is a established person like any of us, and if it doesn't fit, if he's a crazy guy like a Deadpool, like it will not fit the story.
You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying here.
And he also depends on, because he's also a hero story, right? He's the beginning, he starts as a loser, and at the end I can't say that.
He's a man. Is a
he's a real. He finds redemption. So he needs to make sense whichever because whichever part of the story is the 7 years. I divided it in 7 years, and which these 7 years they need to make sense as a character. So I forgot what was the question that I was trying to.
So what was it like knowing that where it's going to end? Because the reason why I asked this question is because once you know where it's going to end, you understand that this is not forever, this story, that it has a short amount of time, and that you're not going to overkill the story, because you and I have both seen TV shows that should have ended 3 seasons earlier.
Exactly. That's what it is.
Seinfeld's a great example where Jerry was offered $2 million an episode to produce it, and probably maybe even more. Might have been more than 2 million. Might have been 5. Now that I think about it, but it's this idea that he was like, it's time to end on my terms. Like a Big Bang with Sheldon. Jim Parsons said, "Hey, I'm not doing another 13th season," and it wasn't the money. If he wanted to do a 13th season, it would have happened. He said, "I'm done after 12. We're going out on a high."
They are already like super billionaires, like super rich.
But I think it's even more than just money, because
it becomes something. But as an artist, I am not motivated by money. It's never been my
that's important, because the thing is that you can easily write 10 issues of this if you wanted to, and divide it, and you could break up a year. You could do 6 months at a time and get 14 issues if you wanted to. But the idea is that I think that by doing it in 7, it's a nice number for a series, and you're not overkilling the series, and the series has integrity still, and it has readability, and it also isn't overdone.
So if I get picked up, and even if I don't, I wanted to do only 7 years of that story. That's the whole concept. 7 years and the end. There is no coming back. No more. I mean, okay, there is a little extra, and I don't want to spoil it, but
You might
they,
have an eighth issue of what happens after. That's fine. A conclusion, issue.
yeah,
That's cool.
the what happened after, but that's it. And yeah, you may. Oh yeah, you asked me if how many I have. How many? Um, I have 7 issues finished, and I have another 12 more scripts that are in the works, and I have so many covers that I've done just by fun, just for fun, like do one after another. It's just
Oh my
I
God.
know the concept, so
I hate that you can do this. I just hate that you can do this because
everybody does, believe me. And
I can't
I have a
believe it.
chance to experiment. Which this is an experiment because I have this I can draw, I can write, I can just do whatever I want, and I can if it doesn't work, I don't care.
I hate that you could just say, hey, as I'm gonna go see if I could draw what I want to draw. Oh, this looks cool. I don't have that skill. I can pick and find comic books that do very well on eBay. That is my only skill. I think I'm good at podcasting. I probably am not. My girlfriend, when I get one, is probably gonna say you're the worst at this. She's probably gonna hate me. It's great. I could probably hold down a job, which is a good thing. But
That's
my
superpower, yeah.
greatest skill is I know how to find undervalued items and sell them for what they're really valued at. And that's my only skill that I really have and I'm proud of. So I hate the fact that you can draw. I just hate it because if I could do even like 1/10 and draw like a person decently, I would be so satisfied as a human being. I'd be so satisfied. Not for money. No, no, no. I don't think you understand. I'm not interested in money. I just want to say, I can draw a person. I'm good. Isn't this a nice person? It's not the best person in the world, but it's at least looking like a person.
Right. Well, it took me my whole life to learn how to draw. So I guess.
And then obviously I do want to talk about the Kickstarter even further because there's a bunch of cool stuff going on with it.
Yeah.
Obviously there is, the first three books, and I know that there's a bunch of ways you can get them. You can get them digitally, you can get them physically. I think you get the physical stuff plus prints.
Right.
And then obviously, what is that like to release all three of this? Because you're releasing three books at once, and if somebody's back and says, I love this concept, and that's what we're trying to do here, I'm trying to convince people to
Right.
back the Kickstarter, they can get a big chunk of the story. And I'm a bulk reader, so I sit down sometimes and like
I am too.
I have a Comixology subscription. I got an iPad for Christmas. I bought a Comixology subscription like a month and a half ago, and I've been reading graphic novels every single night. And I sit down for like an hour and a half and just tear through 178 pages. And I love it. And so obviously when I'm back in a Kickstarter, somebody gives me 80 pages, I'm like, cool, this is awesome. And so what is that like that you're actually giving people a huge amount of story all at
Well,
once?
it's because, like you said, you just hit it on like I collect comic books. This is just a random that I just picked. I don't read them until I have a bunch, and since I have many of the books that I can get them faster, I just want to publish three by three. That's a concept no many people have, like just three at a time.
And,
And
and,
and
and,
and I finish them first. Not waiting. Look, the backers don't have to wait for like a year. It's just done and it's on the print. It's in the printer.
And,
So
and so even to talk about this, because we're going to get into that too. What one of the things is that I also like the fact that I don't you did like three by three by three, and that you're not just doing like a one off and then releasing it another 3 months, and you could do that too, and you might raise more money on Kickstarter. And I like the fact that you're saying, hey, I just want to get this content out to readers, and I think it's super important in a lot of ways. And obviously, I think, with some of this stuff is already done, and it was already done, and releasing like 2 issues and it's already done, why would you want to hold back? I can understand that if issue 3 wasn't going to be done for another 4 months, you might just do 1 and 2. That to me would make sense, but you have all 3 issues done. I love
and
the
the
fact
next
that
one too. The next Kickstarter is done. The
And
next
so,
three issues are finished. So
and so I love the fact because you could easily probably do one every 3 months, raise more than enough money than you would do, and that you're probably sacrificing some economics by releasing it in bulk a little bit, but at the same time, you're giving me a lot of content all at once. So I think that that's great. I think it actually is what indie comics should be about and what Kickstarter should be about. You
right.
know, because I don't know, a lot of people view Kickstarter as a business, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um,
Yeah, it's
but,
fine.
but you don't seem to be viewing it as a business. You seem to be using stores and conventions more as a business.
Well, because I make more money in stores, I make more money in conventions. Um, I I I haven't used Kickstarter or Indiegogo as much. I only did that one, and I did one for another pirate book that I did. It was an 80 page, I think, and that's it.
But I love how if you back on Kickstarter, you're getting a better deal than if you were going to get it in a store or at a convention, and that you're rewarding people for being on Kickstarter and supporting it and making it so that it's viable for you to print something or make your money back into printing. And I like when I'm rewarded for actually supporting your craft.
Yeah,
You know,
you'll get a lot of stuff. Believe me, this time with these three books, you'll get at least prints. You get the signatures. You get the sketches, and you might get on the last one. I did some stickers,
that's cool. That's
and
cool.
so that's you're gonna get that too for free. Believe me, you're gonna get tons of stuff.
Because my whole thing is that when I back a project, I want to be rewarded to some degree. Where I don't want my creator to go into debt to reward me, but I also feel like, hey, you should say a little bit of thank you because, and I say this very nicely, there are plenty of projects that I have taken massive risks on, and I get and then you send me, Sister Mercy is a great book example,
Yeah,
and Corey's in a little bit of trouble right now because he just got shadow banned on Facebook. So go back to his project too.
really.
Um, and Corey Hardiman's great. I don't know if you know Corey.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Corey's great. He included coasters in it. Like, who does coasters in comics? It's
I was
awesome.
thinking about that actually.
It's awesome. I was telling my guests before you to do coasters. You know how much fun it is when you have coasters when your friends are all drinking. It's like, excuse me,
Yeah,
you know,
here's
thank
your
you. And then you have a conversational point, and then it's like a schizophrenic nun killing something. It's fantastic. anyway, this
right.
is so off topic. It's the idea that I appreciate. It makes me now want to back your Kickstarter. I'm going to go back
Oh,
your
you
Kickstarter.
should. You should.
I
Actually,
know.
I'm gonna send you issue 1 and 2, and then you're gonna wanna have those paper like
I'm going
the.
to just back it anyway, so don't worry about it.
No, I will send it to you. I
So
want you.
anyway,
Actually, here is the thing. If you share my link, I'll send you issue 1, and that's guaranteed. Just tag me, Ozzy Longoria, and I'll send you issue 1 in digital PDF.
it's all good. It's all good. Just going to back the Kickstarter. I
No, I'm
want to.
talking about the audience, whoever is listening.
Oh, no. Yeah. Obviously, we'll figure that out, and when it'll all work out, we'll figure it out. Obviously, share it and tag Ozzy, and I'll be sure to put Ozzy's tag out
Yeah.
there, and obviously he'll figure it out on his end when he gets a bunch of notifications out there on the. That's actually really smart. I didn't, but I'm going to be back in your Kickstarter anyway because now I really want to read this stuff. And as I was saying, I like to be rewarded for backing
And you
people's
will, and you will. Believe
it
me.
means something, and then that's what I feel you're doing here, and that's what I'm trying to convince people is that you should back this project because you're going to be rewarded for it. You're going to be taken care of. Versus saying, and I've been, as I stated, with certain Kickstarters, I'm spending $25 for a regular issue, and you're not rewarding me for it. And then I spent $10 on a regular issue, and I got massively rewarded for it. Like, there's something messed up when you don't reward your, people who are
Yeah, for
back
sure.
taking a risk on you. And I'm not saying go in debt, but you need to, and if your artist costs are too high to reward your backers, then you have to reconsider your artist costs or
See,
your
I
writer costs.
I stopped backing issues like one or two because sometimes it's very. If you notice my Kickstarter, there's like 100 and something projects that I have back, or probably more actually. But some of these projects they never make it to 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. So I'm a little disappointed. Now I buy these books like like compilations or
Omnibuses.
full stories like omnibus and things that I is 100% sure that is full story. Like
Why do you think I backed the curse word book? It's a beautiful hardcover book that has all
which one?
30 curse words by Ryan Brown and Charles Soule.
Oh,
It was it was $80 on Kickstarter, and it's the whole thing in a beautiful hardcover book. How can I lose?
yeah, exactly.
I love curse words. I missed it in the comic realm, and I'm like, oh man, you're kickstarting this. This is fantastic. It's
Right.
awesome. It's awesome. So, but I back cover art. I really do. I'm a cover art guy. I love variant covers. I'm sorry that I will back Kickstarters, and I might only back issue 3 of your Kickstarter because there's a certain cover that I love. There's a book called Cremisi, and there's a Trigun cover, and the guy did a Trigun cover. I interviewed him. I said, "Man, I'm backing your thing, regardless whether you are on my show or not." And then I'm happy to. I told him, "Don't sign this thing. I'm getting this thing graded. Do not sign it." And he said, "No, I understand. I understand."
It's not more expensive if you grade it like that with a signature.
So it will be a green label, not a yellow label or a blue.
Oh, okay, right.
And I don't want it signed because I'm going to get it graded. I want a nice copy. It's going to look beautiful, and it's going to be because the art is fantastic on it, and it's just something that's from my childhood in a lot of ways. So, but even going further off this, I mean, you obviously have a T-shirt package. You have, I believe, a commission, black and white. You have a color. You have some original pages out there. Blank cover commission. Possibly there's a movie coming out of this.
I hope so. A TV show, 15 inches, 15 seasons. Seven. It's got to be 7. 7 seasons at least. And that's it.
I can write this TV show for you in minutes. In minutes. Oh my God!
It's already written. It's in the pages.
It's not even that hard of a sell. It really isn't. This would be so good. 24. No. If you did 12 episodes, that'd be fantastic per season. Oh, that'd be great. Like do that thing on Showtime. Oh, that'd be great. HBO Max it up, right?
HBO Max. That's the best.
But
don't Max has the best content for sure.
Don't take stock on that. I'm just gonna say because I own AT&T stock. I'm not very happy about that. But even all this stuff that's going out there, and then obviously you can get a commission from you. It's super cool, and I love all these rewards. And a lot of this stuff isn't that expensive.
And if you look, exactly. I was gonna say that if you look, it's just very cheap because I want that's the thing that I told you. I want everybody to build this community where I give them really good projects for cheap, or not for cheap, at the same price that you can get at the store. Because I just don't like it when you get like super expensive stuff. Like it makes no sense to me, but it makes sense to you, I guess. But
okay, so I will pay for certain things for exclusivity, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that.
If you had a 1 in 50 variant, I would expect to pay more than your regular standard cover. And I would hope you would charge more. Like a commission by you, I expect to pay more than, just a regular cover. Just because there's labor put in there. If you went out and hired an artist, and a very nice artist, like I'll drop an artist that I like, a Keith Garvey. If you went out and hired Keith Garvey and then you said, hey, this is a $30 variant, I understand why it's a $30 variant. And if you limited that variant to 100 print run, I would understand too, because you want something exclusive. Versus, but when you are going to charge me $30 for one of your books and it's just a standard cover, I'm like, wait a second, like, but if you said, hey, you know what it is, I'm charging $12 for this book, but you're getting 80 pages, I have no problem with that. Or
Yeah,
$15 for 80
everybody
pages.
should back that. Yeah,
It,
and
it's
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 good stories. Yeah,
and so that's my position is that, but I also don't want to be nickel and dimed. I don't
right.
like when, as I stated, it's a 24-page book and it's $15. That's expensive on an indie realm, and you're
Yeah,
charging me shipping. That's what irked me about that situation. If it was $15 flat, it's fine. I bought a book from Big Dog Inc. and it was $25 for a variant. I think there's like 200 of them or 150 of them, but it was free shipping. And the amount of stretch goals that I got a bonus comic in there. I got 2 metal cards in it. I got a poker chip.
wow.
I mean, you're talking a 600 limited bonus book for free.
That's pretty
I
good.
mean, an artist edition, might I add. So there's no words and it's black and white. Super cool, right?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
600 copies of that book are around, meaning that there is very limited, of that around. Really cool concept.
Oh, for sure.
And I bought it because I like Tom. And I like to
Yeah.
support people who have been good to me on my show. And part of that, so I'm going to back your Kickstarters because I want to support
And
you because you've been very good at it so far. So don't blow it. You're pledged to lose.
yeah, and you're gonna love the cover of the trade paperback that when I'm gonna put the first 6 issues of Doomsday TV on one, and I already have it. I already have the cover. It's by an X-Men artist. He did some books for um, RoboCop. He did books for. He was very famous during the 90s. He did
Oh,
Impulse. He did um, what else he did? Bunch of stuff. He did such a great stuff, and he's not. He retired actually, and but I got him to do that cover.
is he? Oh man, there's a name that I'm thinking of that I can't think of right now.
I don't think you
Where is he from?
can. He's from here. He lives in New Jersey or New York, I think.
Oh, okay, then it's not who I'm thinking of.
Um, but yeah, it's in the can. It's ready to print.
Oh, that it could be very interesting. It'd be very interesting. I was thinking of somebody else, but obviously, I do want to talk about Kickstarter. I think we sort of talked about it a lot, but Kickstarter's gotten very interesting in the last few years. And I know you're new to Kickstarter, and I know a lot of stuff's going on with Kickstarter. You're coming into it, and obviously, I think this is your second Kickstarter. And I think you're here to stay on Kickstarter. I think you really like Kickstarter because I think
I'm
Kickstarter.
actually doing both. Someone told me to do one Kickstarter, one Indiegogo,
Yeah,
and
no, I'm down for it. There's a war sort of going on between Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and I think it's a stupid war.
I don't know why, but what would it be? I mean, there is room for everybody.
What it is that both those things became political very, very quickly. Where it's the whole thing with Comicsgate and the way
Oh, right. Yeah.
and the way I view it is that the only reason why it became political is that Kickstarter and Indiegogo want that political discussion because guess what? Now you have a rallying cry to do something. It's kind of like if I make this a fight between you and me and then people have to pick sides, they're going to throw money into me, they're going to throw money into you. Meanwhile, you and me are on good terms and we're joking around because we know we're going to make money off of it. We're not doing that, by the way. I think this interview has been very peaceful so far. but I think people get where I'm going with that. And I think, the people in both camps on the war on this side want that. And I think it's calmed down a little bit. But I think,
Right.
yeah.
And I don't even look. It's everything has become political, and especially during these years, I don't care. I really don't
Three
care.
weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there was a incident with me and one person on Facebook.
Yeah,
And I interview everybody. I don't care where you stand on the issue. If you have a cool comic book, doesn't matter to me. I'm a very reasonable person. I interview a lot of wrestlers, I interview a lot of cosplayers, I interview a lot of voice actors. I'm here as an interviewer, and I don't play politics with this.
right.
Cool
And
project. I want to talk to you, which is
someone brought me to attention that I was looking for a stories for the number three of the Monsters and Gods, and he's like, yeah, I did this. I show him the first book, and he's like, who's that name? It's like, oh, he's a Comics Gate guy. It's like, I'm sorry, I cannot talk to you.
And so what happened to me is that I'm in the middle of an interview. I'm 3 minutes in. Some guy just said, this guy did this, and he started attacking me.
Oh,
On private message. I didn't see it until after the interview. And I said this and said, what are you talking about? What did I do wrong? Why are you upset? Did I do something wrong? This is how ignorant I am on the issue because I speak to everybody. Turns out that this person felt that they were wrong by this other person, and they were upset because they didn't want me to post this interview into their group. I didn't even post the interview anywhere yet, which is crazy. And if he just approached me like a normal person, what would have happened?
right,
Well, of course. Why would I be antagonistic if you
right.
approach me like a normal person? And so apparently 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, this is sort of what happened. And apparently that was the week that there was a massive, everybody was being melodramatic in comics and being very passive aggressive. That
Yeah,
was about 4 weeks ago. Hopefully we are past that as a community. And all I'm going to say is to everybody, and this is a fair warning, that if you swing a baseball bat at me, I'm going to take the shot, and then I get to swing it back.
of
And I'm
course,
going to swing
of
hard.
course.
And it's nothing personal, anybody. And if you're caught in the crosshair, know that it's not me to blame. So don't swing a baseball bat at me. If you have an issue with somebody who I interview, collectively, this is the public service announcement here. You just say, hey, I have an issue with this person. Don't post it in my group. And I'll happily say, I understand. I'm not going to do it. That's all you have to say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we should be a community that hold hands with everybody, because we are
You don't have
not
to hold
we
my
shouldn't
hands.
be political. Like, it's comic books.
It's exactly. There's a saying where there was an incident where somebody was being unprofessional. There's a saying called professional wrestling. Somebody went after me for a statement I made on Twitter and decided to do it publicly. And what they don't understand is when you do something publicly, I have to respond publicly, which only exacerbates the
Sure.
circumstance. Now, if there's and the problem is that they are in the professional wrestling realm. The word, it's not wrestling. I do not go see wrestling. I go see professional wrestling. The word professional means you act professionally
Right.
in your setting. I am a professional interviewer here. I am not doing something ridiculous where I am not unprofessionally doing this. I am acting in a civilized, respectful manner with prepped up questions and
Right.
actually putting thought into it. And that's the problem with what happened 4 weeks ago. But even moving beyond that, where do you think Kickstarter is going? Because Kickstarter is super interesting, and we got so far off the path. Go
We
back
just
to
started-
that point if you
yeah,
would like. I am more than happy to go anywhere where you want to go.
yeah, no. Well, Kickstarter, it's an amazing place. Believe me. I think it can be the future of comics too, because we were we were afraid that a lot of comic book stores were closing, and that's when that started just flourishing. Started just emerging and making more money and more money, because people were afraid. But I think it's an amazing place, and also Indiegogo or any other. Those are good. They give you the choices. They give you one more option that you might not have. So I
Yeah,
guess.
and even to go further, because I think that obviously, I mean, I know you're launching your Kickstarter now here, and but cons are, were shot up all throughout 2020 for the most part for the 9 months in 2020. Obviously, they're starting to come back now, but things are very, very complicated, and things are going to be, interesting what happens with that. And Kickstarter got very interesting with big names coming in, a lot of, bigger, entities coming in as well, companies coming in. And we spoke about this a little bit before, but it really opened up a door in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
That
and big companies like I don't know, like Todd McFarlane company or any like Boom. Boom is it might be an independent, but it's a big company. They're focusing into that. Kickstarters,
and even
Indiegogo,
companies like Zenoscope are on
Zenoscope, yeah, all
Zenoscope,
of
and
it.
they statues, and then other companies. Marvel has some stuff on it with some board
Marvel
games,
too. What has what?
Capcom, and some other stuff. It's a weird thing that's on it with it because it's not directly Marvel, but it's Marvel associated.
Right.
Um, is doing some stuff on Kickstarter, not necessarily directly with comics, but maybe more in like a role playing board game type thing.
Oh, okay.
Santi and Phoenix, and that's a big company. And she was on with her husband, and I know her
Hmm.
very well. She's the queen of D&D, and she's great. She's great. I know her very well actually. It's really cool who I know. Um,
Right.
so obviously though, like with cons sort of where they are at, where do you think Kickstarter? Because Kickstarter really picked up a lot of pieces all
Yeah.
throughout 2020.
Yeah, for sure. That's well for an artist, especially. I'm speaking of me. I don't know any other artists. I can't speak for them. But I used to sell
You might
more.
be wrong though. You could speak for whoever you want. You just might be not wrong about that.
Right. So that's why I don't want to. But um, for as an artist, I can sell more comics and sketches, make more money at conventions than in Kickstarter. And it's easier because it's only 3 days. Or bueno, maybe
It's
I used to do it
also
every week. I used to do
with
it week
yeah.
during the summer, but still, that's easier. That's less work. That's less stress because it's a little stressful. Although I really don't care. I haven't promoted that much the Kickstarter because I'm taking it easy. I don't know. I just after dying, after almost dying, it's just I
you,
gotta relax.
you have a new perspective on life.
That is true. I'm
You
not
want to open
kidding.
up a Corona and chill out with your lime on a
I
beach.
stopped drinking actually. Well, I used to drink a lot, but now I stopped drinking. I drink a beer and that's it every week, if that. But that's another story. I just wanna relax because I was and actually I put it in my contract that I extended a month because I used to do one after another, not sleeping, and I all these things are in the back in the past because I have to enjoy life. I when when um when I was doing comic after comic, I was not enjoying my life, my family, and I never went to birthdays or uh, family gatherings. I never did that, and that's just awful. It's just time consuming, and
There's a great saying where I'm a very big passive income type of guy, where I love passive income. And look, I mean, I like making money, I like being aggressive, but I like setting up passive income streams. And I got no problem working hard in a very full income position to build a passive income stream, and I'm working on them. And I have a few of them right now,
yeah,
and then I also love semi-passive income streams. If you know me, I sell comics on eBay. It's
right,
maybe 4 to 6 hours worth of work, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. And, I'm not making it millions of dollars, but I'm making, a decent amount of money on it. And it doesn't take a lot of work. I get to enjoy a lot of stuff. And then I'm going to have probably a 9 to 5 job. And then obviously I invest in the stock market, and then I'm working on my fourth one, which, is obviously more of a class that's going to require upfront work. But then when the class is done, I just have to send it to you and market it a little bit, and I get to actually collect money passively.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it's the way, so maybe I won't make as much money, and maybe I can make, an extra 50,000 a year, but what am I going to do? Work 60 hours a week and not see?
Yeah.
If I have kids, at a certain point, it's like, or, what, I like watching anime, drinking a beer and watching wrestling on your Friday night is not a
Right.
way to spend your Friday. I'm just going to say that. But even going off of this, because obviously you mentioned commissions, I like getting commissions, and I spend money on commissions. I spend like $300 on a commission, and I love it. One of my favorite artists is Elias Chazoudis, and I love Elias.
What was the name?
Elias Chazoudis.
Elias Chazoudis.
Or
No,
Chaz.
I don't know.
He's great. He's a Zenescope artist. He draws really, really beautiful women.
Beautiful women, huh?
And he's very talented. He's very quiet. He's very shy. He was very concerned about my commission, and I'm like, I'm the easiest person. I said, hey, this is what I said to him, and I tell the story, and it's a little embarrassing maybe for him, but I think it's funny. I said, hey, my favorite cover that you did is this cover called Firefighter Sexy Samantha. I said, this is a Van Helsing book. Draw Van Helsing, and just do it in Firefighter Sexy Samantha, and just make it sexy. That's all I said to him. I didn't tell him what I didn't say, how do you do it? I said, this is the style I want it. You did this style. This is your work. I like this cover. Draw this character on the book to plain cover, and there you go. And you do what you do best. I don't tell an artist how to do their job. I'm not going to tell you.
You're the only one.
No. But my theory was that I said, hey, here's my concept and here's my guidance. You can do it however you see fit appropriately. And my mom was a little bit concerned because I paid in cash. I said, look, he's not going to screw me. He's an artist. He's working on a commission. This guy is a big deal. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is awesome. And I said, hey, I'm going to get the CGC. You're cool with this? He's like, don't worry about it. And then he signed a bunch of stuff for free for me. I was getting CGC too. Really cool guy. Super, super nice guy. But I mean, I paid like $300 for it. And I was happy to pay for it. And I loved it. And it was this idea that, but when he's doing in 3 days at a con 30 commissions and they're all paying that much money, I get it. And he's a workaholic, but I'm an easy client. I'm an easy client because I'm like, oh, dude, that's awesome. He put it up on Instagram, got like 7,500 likes in a matter of like 2 days. That's how good this piece is.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I know there are people who would offer to buy it from me.
Oh, wow.
And
I'm not commissioned. Yeah, no, don't sell it.
I'm not interested in selling it. What I'm interested in doing is actually getting Zenescope to make a cover of it.
Oh yeah, that should.
And then I want a credit, and I want him to have a credit, and then I'll have a common credit.
That's what is it gonna be? Like your credit owner?
It'll be other.
Other.
I want a credit in the book. That is my one requirement. And since I know Ralph and I know Dave Franchini, I think I can get a credit, and I'll be like the only fan that has a credit in the book. Oh, it's gonna be great. Because then I'm gonna be at conventions. I'm gonna have him sign it. I'm gonna sign it, and it's only gonna be it's gonna be brilliant. And then I'm gonna go to the convention he's at, and then I'm gonna sign the book, and I'm gonna go into Zenescope. Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. Especially if I go to Zenescope's VIP thing, and he's there and I'm there. Oh, it's gonna be brilliant. Yeah. It's gonna be so brilliant, and people are gonna be like hating me indefinitely. But this is not about me. It's not about me clearly. But what is that like when you do commissions? Because commissions are clearly that's the original question. You got
commission used to be my income completely. Like I mean, besides doing comic books at home, at conventions I used to do commissions all the time. Like going to, let's say, Chicago, 4 days of doing commissions non-stop. My hand, it will be like that at the last day, but I will finish it. If not, I will take it home and I'll email, I'll mail it. But used to be super good money, like really good money. And but nowadays it's a little different. I don't know why. It's just, it has changed. It's a little slow for
It,
me
it,
at least.
it's weird commissions because Chazus is a big Zenescope artist and people love him, and obviously he has a huge following, and it's super cool what he
Yeah,
does, and he's my favorite artist. And also he's reasonable as far as commissions go. $300 for a commission, that's not a big deal. Domati charges more, Senku Minaki charges more, and those people owe me favors, so I better get on their commission list. They owe me, not taking off a discount. They just owe me right on their list.
all right.
Um, but that's a different discussion because I
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
when I want a favor, a lot of times I just want access. I don't want money. If somebody wants to say, "Hey, I'll do something for you for free," that's great. But I just want access half the time because
Yeah,
access to me is worth
right.
more than money. But even that, when you were doing commissions, were you doing full color commissions or just
Full
sketches?
color, black and white, whatever they want actually. Pencils. Some people just want pencils.
Because and I do commissions on covers. So I get a blank cover in comics and I do that. That's my thing because I like getting it graded and I'm not interested in selling it. I'm interested in just preserving the art, which I think is cool. And it's kind of nice when it's authenticated as well. And so I know Chazos does commissions on 11 by 10s or 7 by 11 or whatever it is, the paper size. He does comic commissions. You don't have to get it graded. You can get it graded. And so was that existing when you were doing commissions back in the day with CGC, or is that more of a new thing? Because
The, it was happening, but I never got to do a cover for just to be slated. That's I don't know, or just to do it like that. I don't know. They
you,
never told me anyway.
you wouldn't care if somebody said, "Hey, I'm getting this CGC. You know, here's your rate, and I'm totally
And
cool."
I wouldn't change my price like for any commission. It
Because
really
yeah,
sorry. What?
no, what were you saying?
Yeah, I just do any kind commission. By the way, I'm doing a book that you might like since you. It's called the pinup. It's a pinup book actually for Instagram girls. And this book I've been working for a year, and it's probably gonna I'm gonna publish it. I'm gonna do a Kickstarter first.
So, what is this book? Let's talk about this book.
Okay.
We're probably going to preemptively talk about it because this is
Some
probably way more interesting than me talking about commissions. So,
some of
obviously,
the
I love pinups. I forgot the famous Playboy pinup. I don't know if you know who I just had on my show, Dean Yeagle.
oh,
Dean Yeagle did a bunch of comic stuff for Playboy. So, obviously, Playboy's been at the pinnacle of pinups for forever.
right.
I'm thinking, I can't think of the guy's name. It's Vargas, I think.
Oh, okay. No,
He,
no, I can't remember that.
no, Vargas did all these amazing pinups for Playboy, and
Oh,
like legendary pinups. I mean, like we're talking like the top of the top. And then obviously, I'm a big Ebass fan.
oh,
Eric
Eva, yeah,
Estrada,
for sure.
he was on my show.
Oh, he was okay.
His wife was on my show with Dawn Matig, JP Roth.
Nice. He's a fun
So,
guy. Yeah.
Ebass is a saint. Um, nicest guy. I did his first interview in like 5 years too, which is crazy. Hour and a half, man. We went over 45 minutes. He was totally cool with it. So it's a super cool guy. And then obviously there's a variety of other people. So what is this book and what is it going to be dealing with and who's in the book?
Well, there is many models from Instagram. Some of the most beautiful women I've seen. Uh, uh, One of them is Amber. Let me find it. Amber. Well, can't remember the name.
Oh man, this is going to be so
Okay,
bad.
I'm going to be more general. All these 12 models, and so I'm doing pinups of them in different ways. Like sometimes it's this is a not naked pinup book. It's just like they're all dressed, they're sexy. So it's a really good concept. You're laughing.
This is
Okay,
so
yeah,
bad.
some of them they're naked. Some of them. but
This is
not all
so
of them.
bad on so many levels for me. I should really introduce you to Keith Carvey. I should really make that introduction.
And the book is already finished, actually, by the way.
You should add a few pages for Garv.
Okay, well, let's do that too. Introduce me.
I'll make that introduction, and then you'll
Yeah,
thank me in the long run.
but some of these ladies have like 1 million followers. So
How does
imagine that. That's a market right there. Like we're gonna do videos and just to promote. That I think that's gonna be very successful.
yeah, it's probably going to be very successful. And again, I'm not an artist, so I can't even touch that. I'm a poor man's Bukowski, is how I describe myself for those who are interested. And some people know where that's from. So obviously, there's a lot of stuff coming out with
Yeah.
you. I'm going to give you a chance to self-promote. I don't even think I've touched like half your work at this point. But I do want to talk about conventions because
Well,
obviously,
let
yeah,
me
what
let
is
me
it?
let me talk about there is a Indiegogo coming in on the
I'll give
18th.
you a chance to promote it in a second, but I do want to
Okay.
talk about
Oh,
con.
sorry. Yeah.
So obviously conventions, as I was stating, are so whacked out, and we got somewhat sidetracked. But like, where do you even think cons are going, and even where artists and creators and writers? And I mean, I'm a panelist at cons. I'm not paid, but I present a lot of fan panels, and
Yeah.
even my view is changing, and I'm becoming a lot more selective. And I know a lot of comic people are saying, well, it's expensive to go to a con, buying a table, and prepping up merch for a convention, and even just being there for 3 days. It is tiring from what I hear. I am tired after I go for a day and a half at a con, and I'm
Yeah.
not selling anything. I'm walking around and I'm giving an hour lecture, or something I'm giving a three 1 hour lectures on separate occasions over 2 days, and I'm exhausted. And I'm walking around and I'm sitting in panels. Half the time I'm not doing anything, and I'm
Yeah.
exhausted. I can't imagine having to sell for 16 to 20 hours over 3 days. So where
Yeah.
do you think all that's going? And even because I could tell you for a fact that this interview is going to reach at least 150 to 200 people minimum in the next week to week and a half. And so I don't know if you can potentially reach 200 people at a con so easily.
Yeah. I think I can. I mean, there's so much traffic nowadays in a convention that you. I used to have a sign. It's like, hey, come here, check my book. Like I had to put it on top because there's so many traffic, and so it depends on how you market yourself. That's how good you sell. Um, Again, I'm an artist that I don't know how to market, but I've been learning from watching other people. Just by they have T-shirts that say, "Hey, ask me about my comic book." That's a great marketing uh, thing, I guess. It's just
My favorite marketing strategy at a con is usually a very catchy banner with a sexy girl on it. That's a big one. That's a nice one.
yeah,
Um,
that's a good one. Yeah,
they also just something that's like popping off. That's not a sexy girl, but like freaking vibrant colors. Greg Horn does that really well.
yeah. Okay. Oh, he
He's
doesn't need he doesn't need any marketing. He sells everything all the time. He's always busy.
no, no,
I
no.
I see him in every.
He needs it because nobody knows where he is at the con.
Greg
It's an
Horn.
identifier
Greg Horn.
in a
I
lot of
see
ways.
him in
Yeah.
every single convention. He's got a line like I saw him in like walking around. He's like, "Hey man, how are you?" He's like, I recognize him. Well, maybe because I'm an artist and I'm a nerd, but I guess regular people. He's just a regular guy. Yeah, he
He's
doesn't
also
dress
really
up.
good at selling. He's also really good at selling.
Yeah,
He's really good at it. But I digress, and even going further because obviously with cons returning and they are returning, stuff like this isn't going away at all. I think it's clear that while a con can't replace necessarily this, or this can't replace a con, I should say, this is becoming a bigger part, and it's in addition to a con. And I think that if
Right.
you're a creator, a writer, an artist, you need to now have a bigger digital presence because the world is digital. And it's like kind of like if I want to buy your book, it is you're in Colorado, I'm in Connecticut. The chance of you coming to an East Coast Comic Con is, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's a lot slimmer than you going to Denver Comic Con,
Right.
I think.
Correct.
And so obviously the world is a much bigger place. And for you to send me books over Kickstarter, I mean, it's 10, $15. It's not that expensive, all things considering, if I really want it. Now I'm in the US, so that's a benefit, and you're in the US. That's a massive benefit, and the US market for comics is big.
For sure.
The third world's largest market, which is very beneficial, and there's plenty of money to be made in the US. But where do you think all this stuff is going with the digitalization in addition to cons? Because I think it's going to just bolster it up in a lot of ways.
With everything digital. Well, to be honest, I don't know anymore because for 15 years I've been saying like everything is gonna switch to digital. Like I used to think that everything was gonna be like digital comics all the time. Like you get them like super cheap, like let's say 15 cents because you sell so many. So you gotta lower your price. But it's not happening. Actually, it's
Even
getting
going further off of that, and I agree with that to some degree because people still like physical, but even the idea of just having just a brand as digitally, and not so much selling digital comics, but having to say, hey, I'm on the internet, I need to have a Facebook page, I need to do a lot of podcast interviews because this actually affects where I'm seen at a con and people recognizing my name at a con. There's going to be a bunch of people that say, okay, now I've seen, Pop Anime Comics or Conversation Pop Culture's interview with you, and now I know that I didn't even know your book existed on Kickstarter, and now I know it exists. And now I see you at a con, and if you do 30 interviews with comic people, people are going to start recognizing your name. People recognize my name that I never met. It's the weirdest thing. I'm in comic groups, and the question always gets asked now, who's a good comic interviewer? Who's a good interviewer when I need something? People are like, Pop Anime Comics, and they tag me. I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like, and like I asked the question, and I sit around, I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then random people just hit me up saying, I would love an interview. I mean, your partner randomly hit me up because of that. This is how this entire thing happened. I don't know. Apparently, like 15 people in this group said you're a good interviewer. It's a crazy thing, and so I would imagine it must be similar to you as well.
Yeah, just having a digital presence like an interview helps a lot to promote. Like that's I will not reach as many people just by myself by posting on groups or sending it to my friends or begging to share this thing to my friends. This helps a lot. What you do is a service, a very good service for everybody, and I thank you.
As long as I'm not getting attacked, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's right.
From people in the middle of an interview, I am perfectly fine with that. So having said all that, and I did table you briefly a little bit ago, and I do want to give you a chance to promote because I know you got the Kickstarter. I know you got some social media pages. I don't know if you have a website yet. Obviously, you got some upcoming projects on Indiegogo, and then obviously you got a pinup book somewhere coming down the line.
Yeah, I have tons of stuff coming.
So where can people find you? Because obviously, find you. Kickstarter is up above, but still
Right.
people are
Social networks under my name. I have Instagram. I have all of them. There, just Google Ozzy Longoria, and you'll get a lot of them. Also, all my books are sold um, in the website of the companies that I work with. Also, again, just Google my name and it will pop up a list of all of those. I got Doomsday-TV on Facebook. You can find me there too. Um, I got all the projects on their pages on Facebook. Project Noah's Ark, Nathaniel Demon, um, Doomsday-TV. I already mentioned that, and you can find me just here on Facebook, I guess. If you want a book, just send me a link. Send me a message, and I'll send it to you.
Perfect. And obviously, for everybody out there, and correct me if I'm wrong and stop me, and hopefully you won't stop me because it'll be really bad if you do. Obviously, I think you said that if people tag you and share this interview and tag you, you're going to send them a free digital copy of issue 1 of.
Doomsday-TV.
And so, obviously, if you would like a free digital copy of that book, obviously tag Ozzy. I'm sure that I can figure out Ozzy's tag. And I don't know if Ozzy friended me on Facebook, but I'm sure that we can figure out which tag he wants to use. And then I'll put that up in the description. Use that one. And obviously, if you tag him, he's going to send you a free book.
I'm the only Ozzy Longoria, so I'm sure I'm easy to find.
I'm going to include it in there for everybody, make it even easier.
Yeah, thank you.
Obviously, but I would appreciate a share and tagging because it is super, super, super important to do that. And that kind of leads me into where I'm going here is that you have to support indie comics and indie creators. I'm an indie creator. You're an indie creator. There's 3 links up above, as I stated at the start of this interview. There is Buy Me a Coffee for me, and obviously every little bit helps. There's the Kickstarter, and I'm going to back the Kickstarter off the air, and you're going to watch me back it. I promise. So I would do it live, but I don't want anybody to steal my credit card. That's already happened once this year. I really don't want it to happen again.
Really?
It's not fun. It's not a fun experience. They were very nice at my credit card company, but I didn't have my credit card for 3 days. It's very, very upsetting. My credit card.
Yeah.
but as I'm stating, moving even beyond my personal attachment to my credit card here is very tough 3 days. It's very tough. Yeah. Anyway, one of the things that so obviously though, as I'm stating, every little bit helps, and backing that Kickstarter is massive as well, and there's plenty of rewards. It's going to be super cool. I'm very excited for it. As I stated, I'm backing it immediately, even though I shouldn't be backing it. I'm going to be breaking a bunch of cardinal rules. I'm already beyond my limits, so if I'm already in hell, I should just keep going with all my Kickstarters that are coming. So having said all that, obviously though, I don't want anybody going into debt for backing me, backing you. COVID's been tough for a lot of people. I get it. I'm in my parents' house, and I moved out of DC to stabilize my life and save money. So I am the first person to understand that COVID has done a lot of damage to people.
Look at what happened to me. I have to move with my my mother-in-law house because I was dying and I needed some help, and so I'm still recovering. But I'm still working on here, and soon we'll be out. Well, hopefully, I don't know.
And so having said all that, and I'm making it crystal clear that, obviously I don't want anybody going into debt to back me or back your project, and I think you agree. And if you're in that circumstance, the best thing you can do is share the Kickstarter, follow all those social media pages, share this interview. Obviously, if you share the interview and tag Ozzy, you're going to get a free book copy of, issue 1, and then you can see if you actually like it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. Maybe it's not your cup of tea, but at least, you now know. But I'm feeling you're going to like it, and you're like, hey, I want issue 2 and 3 and everything that's coming out with that. So obviously, that is a really cool way to do it. But even going beyond that, you should be liking a lot of social media pages because it does make a difference. And sharing this Kickstarter around is super helpful because you don't know who is going to be like, man, that looks really cool. I'm looking for a book like this. So that is super, super important. And on that note, I have nothing else to say, so I'm going to give you the final word.
All right. Just on the 18th, I have a Indiegogo coming out. It's from the movie The Sword and the Sorcerer. Is the sequel. And the sequel, the adaptation of they might make that movie. I don't know. We don't know yet, but is the sequel. Um, we're having a Simon Beasley cover. For those of you who don't know who that is, shame on you because he's a superstar. He did some Lobo covers, Lobo interiors. He's done he did um, a short story in this book by Duncan Jones. It's called Maddie. Uh, he's he's a really good artist, and he's gonna do our cover. We're gonna have a bunch of um, how they call it rewards, um, t-shirts, and all that stuff. We're gonna try to do a replica of the sword from the movie. I already have that on 3D, and and that's it. And also the Kickstarter, Doomsday-TV. Please, if you share it, you'll get issue number 1. And I guess that's it. And
Well,
the peanut book coming after the the Doomsday-TV.
well, on that note, and I'm just going to say it again, obviously a lot of stuff's coming. Follow on social media is super important. And I think that's the best way how to stay in touch because you got a bunch of this stuff out on, social media. And if you just Google your name, I'm sure stuff comes up too. And
Yeah,
then, if you just type in on Kickstarter your name or type in, you know, Doomsday TV on Kickstarter, and then or if you just type in your name on Indiegogo, it'll probably pop up, and you'll be
yeah.
notified of everything that's going on. And I'm sure there's like follow stuff and all that stuff. So, on that note, I believe that is a wrap.
All right, we made it.